Here is my finished example of last week's John Salminen abstract. I did some work on it at home, and I have given it a name, a title, and it is called Eclipse 2024. So today we're going to start off the class with a critique of people's work. So I'll be showing the work throughout the first part of this class. Okay, welcome to our acrylics class, Friday morning acrylics class. We finished, or a lot of people, some people haven't finished yet, but that's okay, our John Salminen abstract. And I'm starting today with a critique of that. And you know, the word critique brings fear into the heart of artists. They hate it, you know, and I've been through so many critiques and had people going out of the room crying sometimes when they had it. We're not going to have that kind of critique, but it's a really important thing to do, to step back and look at your painting and do an evaluation of it. And so what that means, you know, people say, well, what's an evaluation? So what do I do? What do I say? So I've got this, these questions. I have a couple different sets of questions that you ask yourself. And that's the important thing about a critique, is when you're critiquing your own work, that you sit back and ask the important questions. And these questions are on this thing. These aren't all the questions. There could be a whole different set of questions, but these are some of them. So we're going to go through everybody's piece, and it doesn't matter if you're done or not, and we're just going to look at it, and feel free to make comments. Talk always about what's good about the piece. I always use Jane Hofstadter's the way that she critiqued it was like a sandwich. You say something good about the painting, you say what you could work on, and then you end it with, this is what's good about this painting, another thing. So you sandwich it, so you don't kill the person, you know, because
try to say three things you appreciate about it before you come up with a.
Oh, is that what she said?
Well, yeah, I like the way you put it, though. I think.
Yeah, well, I kind of think of a sandwich. I don't know. I just think of it that way. But it's very good to be gentle with the person that's done the painting, because we all do take our artwork pretty seriously and personally. You know, it's kind of like a piece of ourselves, and we're putting it out there, and other people are looking at it, and they're criticizing it, and it gets hard to take sometimes. So we're going to be gentle. And I want to take one piece at a time and put it up, and we've got one up here right now, so we'll start with that, and we'll just go through this list of questions. Any questions on
I was going to say, just remember, opinion is the lowest form of communication.
Well, and the last thing on this paper, it says, everyone has different sensibilities. Opinion is often just opinion, and we know that. So.
I mean, like my son does not like Impressionism. It's too blurry, Mom. I'm like, how can you not like a Monet, right? But
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera over.
Oh, well, the technique, of course, is from this class. No, that one was, I did 90% of that at home. You helped me because you use the, what do you call it?
Atomizer.
Atomizer. I always think of it going the other way, inside you with an atomizer. But you helped me with the far right corner there of making that less important, taking the value down. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because it was fighting with that central area.
Right,
And I still was unhappy with the central area, so I went home and put those stripes, not stripes, the dark lines in the center of that central area, and I liked it better. But
okay.
mine are so messy. I love what you do because it's so clean.
And I love what you do because it's so messy. So, I mean, you know, that's what we do with art. We put our own personalities into it. And that's well, and that's something about this particular project. Nobody's is going to look the same as anybody else's, because you have your own signature. So anyway, the first question on this list is this a recognizable composition? You know, we kind of, this is kind of like not something that works for this, because I didn't give you a choice of compositions. I told you you're doing a diagonal, and so I just took that off the plate as a choice that you had. So all of you are going to have recognizable compositions. We don't need to even talk about that. But you do need to know at some point
And at some point in my classes, I do go over this, but there are about 25 different compositions in Western art. And what we are doing is Western art. You have to understand that, because I've worked with other kinds of art, and there are a whole different set of rules that you use. I was doing Northwest Indian art for someone that wanted a Northwest Indian piece. And I said, oh, I can do that. And I started doing it, and it looked awful. It was terrible. I had to go to the library and pick out books on Northwest Indian art and find out what their rules were. And those rules are so different than what I'd ever done anything with. And so I had to follow a whole different set of rules for that. If you're doing Mideastern art, whole different set of rules. But what we do is Western art. And so the rules that I talk about, when I talk about having something unrecognizable and oblique and all that, that's so much Western art. So, but anyway, so of course this is a recognizable composition. Is there a focal point? Would you say there's a focal point in this? Okay.
Where is it?
Where is it?
It's where the black lines are going in.
Yeah, that's what I see.
The upper left of the
Bottom
Right. Like where the
And
black
the bottom.
lines are.
Yeah, I
Down
look
below.
right there.
Yeah.
That's where I look.
Okay.
That's where it's supposed to be.
How you tell what the focal point is, and it will be the thing that attracts the person's eye, the viewer's eye, but it is the lightest lights and the darkest darks right next to each other. Usually, I was saying you have to kind of make a transition from number 2 values to 3 values to 4 values, and you do that. Well, in the focal point, you don't. You kind of go right there and put the darkest darks right next to the lightest lights. And so these are, I mean, there's some real darks here, and there's a real light here, and it's surrounded by darks. So that draws your eye to that point. Okay, is the painting dominantly warm or cool? This is something else we have to think about when we're painting. Do we have a warm or a cool painting? And this is not the same as the color wheels that we did earlier, which there was a warm color wheel and a cool color wheel. This just really talks about blues as being cool, blues and greens, and reds and oranges and yellows being warm. So what would you say, is this cool or warm?
Say it's both.
It's a little bit of both.
The focal
I would
point
say
is cool.
cool.
But
It
the
is.
surrounding has more red.
Okay. That might be something that was kind of bothering you about this, because it should be 80% warm or cool and 20% the opposite. And I think you might be a little, it says 80%, well, that could be 70% or 90%, you can kind of do a range there. But you might be a little, if you're starting to get more 50-50 warm and cool, that could be something that sets a painting off.
Can you point to an area and say whether it's warm or cool?
Well, this is definitely a warm area right here.
Okay.
This is really a cool area,
Okay,
All
all right.
And
I
basically-
just wanted to know if I'm getting it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the colors. This is warm. Actually, it tends to probably to be a little on the warmer side. I don't think it's 50-50. This, because you have warm here and you have warm all around here, and you just kind of pop in the cool in the middle. So it's probably okay. It's not 80-20, but it might be 70-30, So that might be all right. Okay, what is the direction the eye takes in the composition? Okay.
Is this how you plan to have it, or did you, how
How
do
do you
you?
plan to have
Well,
it?
when I said, when you look at your painting, you either see it one way and then you start flipping it, you go, no, I like it best.
Oh, I
this
see.
direction."
I see,
direction.
either vertical or horizontal, or, yeah.
Yeah, flip.
Yeah, I did all sides of it. There was only one position I didn't like. This one I liked the best, and I think it holds together the best way, because you enter it through the bottom, and then you go up and it kind of explodes out. And that's what I kind of wanted. I'm calling it cheers.
Oh.
Cheers. Yeah, you definitely, I think you enter right here.
Yeah,
Your eye enters here.
yeah.
You kind of look over there a little bit, but made that less
do that.
dominant,
Uh-huh.
and you go over here.
So,
So that's kind of like the way the eye goes. And then usually the eye circles around and maybe goes back out that way when people look at it. And so what you always want to look for is there something that leads the eye out of the picture? And I don't think there is on yours. I think there's nothing that, everything pulls you back in. I mean, even this goes this way, but then you got this going here and this going here. And so you're always pulled back into the
So
center of the
you
picture.
don't want something
No.
to pull you out? Okay.
No, and you definitely, what you really don't want to have is ever have something point to the edge of the picture, which she doesn't. If you had if one of these things pointed down here, that would lead your eye out. But it doesn't, it goes this way, okay? This one goes this way. If it were to go all the way down there, it would lead your eye out. But she stopped everything before it got to the point of leading the eye out. Okay, this is the next one. Is there texture in the painting? Oh my God.
yes.
We got lots of texture in here.
Yes.
Okay, is there a variety in shape sizes?
Yes.
Okay, we have some real small shapes, tiny, tiny shapes, and some medium size, and some bigger shapes, like these big shapes here. So, very good.
And squiggles.
Okay, and
Lots
squiggles,
of
yeah.
squiggles.
Okay, is there repetition of elements in an unpredictable way?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, definitely. All these squares, repetition, 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 but unpredictable, that's variation within the repetition. So each of these squares is different from the other. So that's good. All right, is there a range of values from light to dark? Okay, absolutely. She's gone from the darkest dark, which is the black, to the lightest light, which is her focal point. So definitely, and then everything in between. That's the other thing. You've got to have all of the things in between. Okay, does she continually change colors within her chosen color scheme?
What is my chosen color scheme there?
Well, like I said, I think it's dominantly warm,
Yeah.
but you definitely change the colors. You know, nothing is, you know, there's some repeat, but you need some repeat. This pink is repeated. Mama bear, Papa bear, Mama bear, baby bear over here. So that's really good.
I forgot to think about
Yeah. So are there hard and soft edges with a dominance of one or the other?
that. Hard,
A dominance of hard,
I think. so.
somebody said?
I see it differently.
Okay.
I see lots of soft edges. It
Is,
looks very balanced to me on that.
His approach is so excellent in producing. The soft edges gives you a feeling of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And his approach is so wonderful in doing that and teaching you how to soften those edges.
without telling you that's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's just such
Yeah.
a great project.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you automatically have soft edges in this because the way we start out with all those shapes that get kind of diffused.
It looks like you're going down into the picture. That's what I think is cool. Like it's buildings.
Yeah, there's.
Like you're in Las Vegas and there's the big buildings and you're going down into the lake with the street. To me, that's what I see.
Cool. Okay, and have you checked to be sure there's no 50-50 equal divisions of value, temperature, color, or size pieces in the painting? That's a really good question to ask yourself, because a lot of times when you're painting, you don't notice that there's like exactly 50-50 between two things. I don't think there's any 50-50 division in value, temperature, color, or size pieces in this painting. So that's.
Do I get an A?
You get an A, absolutely. Are there too many colors, textures, or small pieces making the painting too busy?
I tend to do that. That's what I.
Well, what's the
So,
thoughts?
but the overall is flowing shapes. It's not, I don't see it as too busy.
I just
Okay.
think your eye dances across the painting, because it's like, oh, there, and then there's there, and then, I mean, it's just fabulous, you know, just.
Okay, I'm thinking it's okay. does a painting feel balanced? And then that question about which direction you go, because abstracts are very open to changing the direction of them. And the last question is, have I looked in a mirror or upside down? And I know you have. You've kind of looked all around.
I do upside down and, run in and surprise myself, if I'll be in the kitchen doing something like that, because you take an instant new look and you pick up on stuff that you don't see when you're sitting there working your way through it.
Yeah.
You get kind of blind to things.
The other thing I do is I take a picture with my cell phone.
I did that too.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get a small look at it, so you're looking at it more from a distance. And then you can flip it around on the cell phone, and you can also turn it to black and white, check your
And change
values.
the location of the painting,
Yeah.
take it out of your studio or wherever you're painting and put it in a different room too.
Okay.
I put it on the floor often, because I can hover over it and
Right.
you do kind of crazy things,
Right.
goofy stuff. But the mirror thing is a great way to do it.
So you
Yeah,
just hold it
mirror.
up to the mirror and look at it?
Yeah.
Everything's reversed, so you're picking up on
Yeah.
a different.
So you see it in a whole different way, and sometimes something that's wrong with the painting will really pop out to you when you look
We
in the
didn't
mirror.
have these tips before we finished it.
What?
I said, we didn't
We
know
didn't have
these
the
tips.
tips.
No.
We did the
No, I know,
picture.
I know, but that's
We
why
got
we're
the black
doing,
and white
that's why we're
picture.
doing it now.
Well,
Now we'll take it home and go,
Yeah, no, but these are things to think about. Okay, okay, this was Judy Welch's painting, we'll go on to another one.
Industrial, it looks like, early 1900s where it's all black and dark and there's a road that's going and you see a building in the background and like a bridge to the lower right. And I think if you elaborate more on some of that, maybe have some rectangles or something that just kind of makes it more structural. But I think it's cool.
Yeah, actually from back here, it looks pretty good. You know, the center is like a little waterway.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And it's nice, I like it.
looks great from Carson City.
Well, Peabody, yeah, Peabody would be good, yeah.
But you said it's not
SFU.
finished, so.
Well, no, I don't know what to do with the white.
SFU.
Well, I think what Tricia said is deal with the Santa hat
Mhm.
and put a little more white in the background and you've got it.
Mhm.
And don't mess with it further.
It looks, I think you're almost done.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
do
just the white.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think you're all
I
crazy.
Yeah, I think it's
you've
very
done well. I think you've done
Is there
well.
texture?
Yeah.
Oh, is there
Yeah.
texture in the
Oh.
painting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, a lot of
What
texture.
did you do for the white and the black on the left-hand side to get it kind of spotty? What did you do?
Oh, I scraped it across.
Oh,
I also put
okay, that's
some
cool.
Modeling paste on it, but it was small, just little pieces of modeling paste.
Okay.
So I didn't really I don't know I'm not comfortable with big things.
hard.
So I did everything kind of minimal,
Okay,
small.
I think it's cool.
You know, one of the things that is recommended sometimes is that when you look at your piece, you split it into quadrants in your mind, so you're looking at this quadrant and what's happening there. Look at this quadrant, what's happening here, and this quadrant, and what's happening here and down here. And so it's kind of like that gridding effect that we've done before. You're breaking it down to smaller pieces. And so you can kind of evaluate one part of it at a time. And then you have to go back and see how it all works together, of course. But that's one of the suggestions they do on, working a piece. And whenever you do a piece of artwork, you've got to go back and work on it afterwards. You've got to go back and do more to it. Very seldom does a piece of artwork get finished in one sitting. Sometimes it happens. That's really kind of a plus if that happens. But usually you have to go back and do some changes. You have to fix some things. So that's not good. Okay. Does she have a repetition of elements in an unpredictable way? Way unpredictable. That's good. It's like every,
Definitely repetition.
yeah.
Curves up to the left and curves to the right. Curves, yeah.
Yeah. And is there a range of values? And this was another one that John Salminen, his steps kind of almost guarantee you're gonna have that in these paintings. I bet you everybody has a range of values in their paintings, probably do. So. Okay, does she continually change colors in a chosen color scheme? You know, one of the things I noticed about this, you have a very definite color scheme in this. I mean, this is that brown and green. I mean, it is all over, and that brings unity to the painting. That really does. So it brings it all together. That's really kind of cool. But you do have some variation because you get down into the blues down here. And strong green up there, little red over here. But it's definitely a dominantly brown and green color scheme, which is, I think it's really nice.
It's kind of a Chagall kind of thing, and I'll tell you why afterwards. See, to me, it has some, Chagall just had no sense. There's a bride in the picture, and then this. So, I know this sounds funny, but I have a tendency to see things that, like, if you're looking at a rug, you can see a face on the rug. So I see a moose. The whole black thing is a moose, and the legs down below. So, to me, you could outline that, and there's a moose, and then you could do something else that has some figurine in it that, you know, so it's, to me, it's just kind of fun because you can see, I see different things in the
Yeah,
painting.
I agree, because it inspires your imagination.
Right, yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be doing, I think, is inspiring you.
Yeah,
I think.
cool. You know, I love these things. What you did
Yes,
with that.
that's
And
the
the one up
model
there.
paste.
Those
They
are
look
beautiful.
like boats floating.
Yeah. Well, it gives a dimension to it.
It does.
You know, it's
You
dimensional.
just painted those on with like a stripe?
It's modeling paste that she used, and now it's.
Yeah, I just outlined the little swabs of modeling paste I put on
Did you put color in the modeling?
it. No, and I
Just put
shouldn't
it
have,
over?
I didn't know how to use it.
No,
you
but
just
no,
put it
actually,
good.
it's cool.
It
It
looks
looks
good.
I didn't
The
know.
tinge of white, the opacity of it is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
It just
You can
adds
see
a
a face.
little bit of white.
Right, it's like two faces. The white has two faces. So the left side, you see the eye and the nose
You know,
pointing
that's-
that way.
Right?
And then the other side is just they're facing straight on, it's the nose and mouth right there.
And that's something, you know, sometimes what she's saying is sometimes when you're doing abstract paintings, something realistic comes to mind in it. And you've got a choice. You can either ignore it or diffuse it, you know, make it go away by doing something different, or you can go with it. You know I have one of my abstracts became, I called it descending koi, because it just looked like a fish going down in the water. And so I went with it, you know, I said, okay, I'm gonna call this descending koi to give people an idea of what they should be looking for in it. And then also, I'm going to enhance that and make it look more like a fish. So you can decide to do that, you can decide to go in the opposite direction. I mean, that's a decision moment. Okay.
I have
Okay.
a question about the modeling paste again.
Yeah.
Did you do a wash over the modeling paste?
You know, in places, I didn't know it was just gonna kind of be there. And so when I did some washes, it didn't take the color very well.
But it looks very,
So it's,
Highlighted it.
Yeah.
So there is a color over the top of it, though?
yeah.
There is a wash, okay.
Yeah.
I like
and
that.
most of
Yeah.
it.
a lot.
I don't know if there is on the bottom, but there is on the top.
It's very
Okay,
Yeah.
any more comments on this? Rebecca, I think you did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Yay! Wow. These have come out so nice. And this is Stephanie Ball's painting. So, wow. I love it. I really like it. You did some work at home on this, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Did you? Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't here for that.
That's great. Well, recognizable composition, you've got a nice diagonal going across, so I would say yes. Focal point, oh my gosh,
No question.
no question. Yep, right here. And it's in a good place in the painting, according to the golden mean, so it's right there. And she does have some darkest darks and lightest lights there, very cool. Very intentional. Is it dominantly warm or cool? Cool, cool. With that pink, that warm pink going through there. And it's probably, again, I would say this is a 70-30. Little more pink than the 2080 that you usually recommend, but not bad. I mean, it's not bad. So, what is the direction the eye takes in the composition?
You circle.
You circle.
You circle it, it holds you in there and you're going round and round and round. Yeah, you don't leave the painting at all.
That's right, yeah. She really does keep your eye right into that painting. And you're right, I mean, my eyes are going like this all around the thing. Okay, how about texture? Is okay with texture? Again, I think this is something we're not going to have any problems with in this project, because you all have a lot of texture in there. Variety in sizes of shapes.
That's what's so remarkable about this project, what John, formulated. It forces you to have incredibly different shapes and things that you wouldn't think of on your own.
Yeah, I think you have a good variety of shapes.
I like the black.
I like the lines.
Lines. Yeah, and she has a range, in the values.
The values of the dark shapes, I think, is where I had some trouble. The big shape that's supposed to be behind the diagonal, I went back in and darkened it, and I maybe darkened it too. Anyway, I had trouble with that value of keeping the darks different values.
Yeah, and maybe that's the only, I think these values are great, because this is not a 9. This is like a 8 or 7, and this is also 8 or 7. These are definitely 9. So that's a good change in values. One thing I would say is that maybe these two are too much the same. When I watch John's video, he definitely saves a lighter value in one section of his painting. So he really consciously does that. But maybe they're just a little bit too similar in size and value. So if I were going to do anything with this, and it would be hard to do, but I would probably take one of those down a little bit more in value. And it's going to be hard because we're not working in watercolor. If you were working in watercolor, it'd be easier. This is going to be, you're going to have to cover it up with something else if you do that.
So question on, so like Maureen and I had different ways of, I organize, and she would put she would put pieces all over. And then, so when you said divide it into quadrants, you had us the last time do all the darks at once. Is that what we're supposed to do, or should we just concentrate on this area and then start building the other areas?
That was
and
for
complement?
evaluation, not doing evaluation, right? The
Right,
quadrants.
right. The quadrants
After
is,
you've done it, that's how
yeah,
you
you
evaluate.
you don't, when you're making the painting, you don't divide it into quadrants.
Yeah.
You got to look at the whole. But when you're evaluating later, you
Okay.
can make comparisons between the quadrants and say, well, this is I really like this quadrant, it's really strong. This one's pretty weak. How can I pop it up?
Okay,
That kind of thing.
I understand popping up, but once you put on the darks on your 3 spots or whatever, you're stuck with those darks. You can't.
Right.
So my question is when you're trying to get the balance, are you better off visually picking those spots and then just building on them slowly so that then you can get a darker one here? Or,
There's a lot of ways of raising the value of like even that dark shade. I mean, that's what her atomizer does too. You can take a light color and atomize, certain areas, and it keeps it from being as dark. Or you can, you know, I have an atomizer now, I just got it in the mail.
Yeah.
But I use a toothbrush, you know, just even,
Yeah.
or you haven't brought in the aspect of the stencils yet, but there's some very fine stencils you can put a pattern over it and it'll take the darkness down. You can-
Yeah,
there's
we
a
didn't
million
use
things you
stencils
can
in this
do.
particular project,
Yeah.
but that is something that can be
A
done.
million things you can do.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so take down some of the dark.
The thing I'm missing in this is, not much, because it's a wonderful painting, is maybe some values like 5 and 6.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to put the number on it because I don't think in those terms. when I'm
Right,
doing
but
it.
yeah, some of
But
those
to
medium.
illustrate it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like the blue in the center, the blue stripes, those are, that's a nice.
yeah, that's
So you're
nice.
saying like the turquoise on the left, put more turquoise on the,
To bring in some additional values. She's got the darks,
but not really any brights.
and she's got the brights.
Mhm.
But I'm missing some of those middle values. And it doesn't have to be overall, it can
Right,
be just
right.
here and there and.
Right.
And what you can easily do to change that is, and I actually did it on this one. I went in and just took a swipe in here, just to bring down, because it was too white. And I needed a bridge between this and this. And so I just took a paintbrush and just swiped it. And you can easily do that if you, for instance, here, I would say a swipe along here would be really helpful to kind of make a difference in value there.
And a little darker, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Medium.
More
Ye-
medium?
Yeah, actually, yeah, you might have to go further, because you might have to make this a little darker and this a little darker yet, because these are really close to the same value. So, but, so you can do that after, that can be one of the last things you do is go in and change out the, add more steps to the values.
And I felt like the darks were sort of sacred, and I wasn't gonna impinge on those with texture or anything, but what you're saying is I could.
Well, I
To-
think,
like to
isn't
bring
it,
that
a
down a
painting,
little
it's
bit.
working out the problems.
Right.
And that's what, this is the stage that we all get into. This is the part I love, even though it's frustrating. It's just, I don't like your painting. You sit and analyze it and say, okay, if I do this, I do this. But with the acrylic, you can regain those darks anytime you want. So I wouldn't be so worried about it.
Yeah.
In fact, with acrylic, you can regain most things.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, basically, does the painting feel balanced? Hugely balanced, and I think that goes back to that circle that we see when we look at it. We look at it all around in a circle. You know what, another thing I really like about this is I love these shapes right here because they're not anywhere else. And so it makes it the focal point. I mean, that's definitely the focal point, and you have these
Clean.
weird little petal shapes in
But
the
they
middle.
came from the drawing. They-
Yeah.
They echo some of the lines from, yeah.
Right,
Well,
oh, that's
the flower and
cool.
one of the other pieces.
That's cool. Well, that drawing that we do way at the beginning, it's not a throwaway. You go back and you do look at it and bring it in. Okay, so are we done?
Yeah, I like the bottom left,
This is Christine's
it comes up
painting.
with the lines, that's nice. All three of those lines are good.
Well, I think the colors are fabulous.
Yeah.
And even though you said they were dark,
They're velvety.
they're really nice.
That's what they look like from back here.
What, they look like what?
Velvet.
Velvet, yeah, it does.
Is it dawn or warm or cool? I'm still struggling with this.
It was supposed to be cool,
But it seems warm to me.
but in the upper left corner is,
Thank you.
yeah, whatever.
No, I think you're right, it's cool. Green is cool.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty cool. You know, the only warm is right in here. I mean, all the rest is very, very cool. So I think that's probably 80-20. So,
Anyway, so is there a focal point? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that if you do something like that and put in something that really is distinctive, it's gonna be the focal point. That's where people's eyes are gonna go. And the problem with that is sometimes that's too much. So, you know, one of the things I would suggest is, I mean, if you want to go with a butterfly, that's fine, but maybe you could have added some more butterflies, some smaller ones, you know, to take that theme out into it. And I think that's something you might want to think about. I mean, you could just get
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. That's an idea.
little bitty
Little
butterflies kind of maybe going off from this. And also taking the white, you know, you've almost got your diagonal, but it needs to go up further. You stopped it a little too soon. So you can easily take collage paper, white collage paper, and just extend that. Or the one that I love is the rice paper, because that extends it, but it's softer than
Oh,
what you
that's
got
great,
there.
because I wanted to paint over it, but it was not covering.
Can you
Mhm.
find that rice paper at Nevada Fine
Yeah,
Arts,
they
right?
have lots of them. You would
Okay.
go crazy when you look at their selection of rice papers. It's, yeah.
I'd like to see her soften her line between her darks and her white. Is somehow with a, you know, like with an atomizer or spattering or something to soften that one line. It's a very strong, you did on the right side, see, you have a little more soft
Yeah.
side to that. I'd love to see you do the, on the
So
left
just add
side
like
as
more of a
well.
Right below the butterfly, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? Okay.
And you know, you could take a line, something, and finish your butterfly. Up here, I'm losing, back here, I'm losing the butterfly on his left side. You know, his wing disappears.
Yeah.
And you could almost take, just do a simple line with a white paint or something to show that that wing is not missing. I'm thinking, I'm missing his wing. Where is his, where
Well,
does
he's,
his
you
wing
know,
go?
he's at an angle. His
Is he
body is here and the wings are here.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
you're
this-
thinking this is
Oh.
like, you're thinking like it
Yes,
goes over
yes.
this way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand
What
but
you're
she
saying,
could, she could
yeah.
always change that, you know, and add more dimension to it.
Yeah. And maybe make it different, but echo, you know, what you're saying is echo this on this side.
Yeah,
That
so
would
give him
be-
a back wing there.
Yeah,
You don't have to do much on the bottom, but on the top.
yeah.
Like Nevada Fine Arts has that orange paper that's got the inks on it in gold. That might be kind of cool to do.
Oh,
You
yeah,
don't have to
you
do a
should do a
solid
collage.
piece, but just do some little, that mimic of the wing, so it's just, you can,
Like it echoes it, but not
Mhm.
exactly. I love this line right here.
Yeah.
This is really nice. And maybe you could even emphasize it by, like I said, add some white up in here, but follow that line, because that's a beautiful line. And partly because it divides, you know, it divides this up into 2/3 and a third. And that's something else to think about when you're have lines. You don't ever want to go 50-50, but that's beautiful because it's 2/3 this way and 1/3 that way. So you want to emphasize that more. I think that would be really good. And this is almost a moon or a sun right here, which is really kind of interesting.
The colors are really pretty.
Uh-huh. So that's good. So not too many colors, textures are small. Well, you could use some small pieces in this. The shape sizes are not as varied as they could be. You have some variety here. You have the Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear, which is really good. And you have some small ones here, but I think you could use more small pieces. Maybe just going with more collage, you know. Doesn't like that thing. So, okay. Anything else? Range of values from light to dark.
What happens to the butterfly if you turn it on its
Turn it on the
good
side.
picture.
Make it, or
Oh,
landscape.
I'm just, because I also saw a half a butterfly, not a full butterfly.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you turned it one way or another, if that would,
This way or the other way?
it doesn't matter.
We're just gonna grab this real quick. So it's
Okay. You need me to move something here?
No, you're all good. You might need to.
Wait, you gotta plug in here.
Oops. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I rewrote your sign.
Thank you.
that changes the
That
look of
changes
it.
the whole thing, yeah.
Well, and that's the. That's too big.
It's okay.
Yeah, don't worry about the
Don't worry
frame.
about that for right now.
Okay, we'll just put it right here. Okay. Okay. Wow, it does change it.
Yeah, it really does.
Really does. It puts the butterfly in a better position in the painting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still take the white, like you said, around the, it's like it's buried in a crevice and it's just starting to come out.
It looks even richer on that side, the color and everything.
Yeah. Boy, that makes a big difference.
But I think your suggestion too, if she had maybe 2 more butterflies to add, but different sizes.
And they could be on little
Different
black
sizes.
lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're coming out of their cocoon there, because you can see the orange, but maybe put another couple butterflies that have actually come out right around that corner.
Okay.
Very cool.
Okay, cool job. Good job.
Nice job.
Yeah. Well, you know, first thing you don't do is ever ask a member of your family if they like your painting. Never. You know, my husband's famous comment when I showed him one of my abstracts, he loved my realistic paintings. He really loved them, but he was not into abstract. And I showed him one of my abstracts and he said, well, whatever you can get away with.
Oh, that's good.
It's like, okay.
And then my husband's comment was always, is it finished?
Is it finished?
Is it finished?
Let me know when you're done. Okay. Okay, so this is Maureen's. Recognizable composition. You got away from the diagonal.
Yeah.
So you have, all your whites are right in the center. Which again, I have to say, I'm telling you these rules and they're rules that are broken all the time. So you might see famous artwork. You might, you're gonna go to a museum sometime and say, my teacher said you couldn't do that and look what this guy did. Well, that's what artists do.
Yeah.
They break all the rules all the time. So you can decide that I'm sorry, that's the way I want it, that's the way I like it. The famous one that I really have, they showed us this at the museum, and it was a painting by a famous artist that did a sea scene, view of the sea with like a sheet flying through the air above it. But one of the rules I always learned was when you do a landscape, you have to have the horizon line has to be straight. He put the horizon line like this. And that was very purposeful. He did that. He knew the rules. He decided to break the rule. And so that's what he did. So you can always break the rules. And if you decide that I don't care what you say, I like it this way.
I think I
Well,
broke the rules.
And to be, I mean, yes, the white is just in the center, but the light, including the collage pieces, are on a diagonal.
Oh, yeah, they are.
True.
Yeah, there's this big diagonal going right there like that. That's right. So
I did
maybe
something right.
maybe you didn't break the rules. Yeah. I love, love, love your colors. I just really love the colors. Your collage materials that you added in really pop. And the colors in the background are very muted. And so that's a nice contrast, you know. And again, as far as taking your eye across, well, there is a diagonal that goes across. I don't think you really are shooting the eye off the page anyplace. I mean, my eye keeps going back to the center, you know, and then around and into the center.
I think, her background is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I almost see two separate paintings in this. Because the two, you know, the white areas grab your eye to the point where I really would like to enjoy some of the surrounding a little bit more. If those two white objects could be somehow subdued, just tiny bit, tiny bit, not much, so it's not just, you could leave some sections in it that are bright white, but then
So
somehow
cover
it
a little
just,
bit more.
it controls your eye so to go right to that center rather than appreciate all the subtlety you have going. I don't know how to say it. There's so much subtlety in your background, but there's no subtlety at all in your white shapes. If
So
you
add
could-
more
if you could-
color to
Just
it.
add
Well, just
Or
subdue it
spread
a little bit.
more white out toward those corners, maybe.
Yeah, I don't like that white, but I like the bottom half. It looks like this, like an out-of-world
Yeah, sure.
mountain.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
It's too cool, man. It's like really,
Yeah.
really nice. I like that a lot. It's really, really
Use
nice.
your expertise like you used in the background to subdue those. And what's interesting, she has two white shapes, and yet she's broken them up to the point where they're very interesting.
Yeah, I like the black lines that you put through the white shapes. And maybe like what Judy was saying is that maybe some of these shapes could be colored in a
Yeah,
little bit.
very
with-
soft, very
softly,
Yeah,
soft.
very
soft colors.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'll try that.
Maybe what we are seeing is in the focal point, they're next to the darkest darks, but you have your lightest lights, your brightest yellow, but you don't have dark
Within the focal point.
within the focal point. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have the darks just bordering it.
Well, I would hate to have her lose those shapes, because they're interesting shapes. I think they just need to be subdued.
Okay, so some of the ones that are inside the white. just
Yes,
kind
it's
of
very
light
soft
colors.
color. You don't want them to disappear.
Mhm.
But they're almost, do you understand? What I'm seeing are two separate paintings here.
Okay, I can kind of get that. So bringing those two together would be the challenge.
Yeah.
And that could be done by adding more subtle color in here,
Yeah.
taking away a little of the white.
Like the light greens and
Yeah,
pinks kind of.
yeah. You don't want to do pink because it's got too much
Yeah.
pink right here, but you might want to take some of the
Yeah.
outlines.
Beautiful, but keep your value really, really light, because you don't want them to go away as compared to the background. You still want them to exist.
You know, one of the things that one of my students that has been in this class before, Tamara Charlin is her last name, Tamara. Tamara does symbolic paintings. I mean, she just naturally does it. She has symbolism all the way through it. And I'm thinking when you put this in, this is almost a symbol because we read this as a cross.
Oh.
And that's something that painters sometimes do. There are symbolic painters. And Tamara, I mean, everything she does is like that. I mean, she puts little symbols in her
Yeah,
paintings.
I didn't think I was doing that, but that's.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
it kind of says that to me, because there are some certain symbols that are just in our heads, that when we look at it, we think it's something, it's significant. And you can, again, that's something either you can get rid of if you don't want to go that direction, or you can enhance it and do it more. And so maybe, like I did a whole bunch of symbols that were of childhood. So I did hopscotches
Oh,
and
cute.
tic-tac-toes and things like that. But that was a message that I was putting into the painting, that I was trying to get the people looking at it to think in that direction. This is childhood.
Yeah.
But Tamaras are, they're almost indigenous kind of images that she puts in her things. It's pretty interesting. So that's something, you know, you either, when you do something like that, you either want to do it more of it or get rid of it, you know, one or the other. And that's, again, that's an individual decision on the part of an artist on which way they want to go with that. So, yeah.
I like the spheres, the colored spheres, because we were told not to do them. That your eyes brought to those spheres, and I think it's just gorgeous. Yeah,
Oh, the
See, I
circles,
love
yeah.
circles.
Yeah.
When you see mine.
yeah,
you
it's
know
really
that.
nice. It's different, and
Yeah.
it, you know, really enhances it, I think.
Okay,
Whimsy.
Playful.
Yeah, whimsy.
yeah. It is sort of playful. Yeah, there's a little bit of a childishness about this painting because of the bright colors, I think.
Well, like later on, I can see an elephant in there, and I didn't mean to do it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there is an elephant there,
She
that's
said
what I
that,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cute.
And again, that's something you can either enhance or do away with. You decide which way you
Oh, I
want to go
like
with that.
elephants, but I didn't try for an elephant.
That's right for an elephant. Oh my goodness. So he needs legs, though.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go the elephant
Yeah.
direction. Yeah. Okay,
But I'll lighten it up in some of those circles,
yeah,
those areas.
okay,
Yeah, thank you.
okay, good. Woo! Cool. Very nice. I see your design background in this. Yeah, very cool. Colors, again, are amazing. And you know, when I said that you have a dark shade that looks like it's behind the black shape, or the white shape, you've actually put the white shape behind color, you know? So that's an interesting flip on that concept, you know? Very cool. So,
I see your butterfly in there.
yeah, there's definitely a butterfly,
Purple. I love the purple.
yeah. Warm or cool?
Let's see, cool.
Well, I think cool, with warm, kind of.
Warm pucks. I'd say it's mostly cool.
Which is weird is because my painting was only 10% cool or 20% cool and the rest was warm.
Oh,
When
yeah,
I painted it first,
yeah,
I only had one little section that was the cool, so.
huh. Yeah, well, it's come out more
Yeah.
cool, yeah. Which, I mean, it changes. You definitely have a focal point, and again, it is in the center of the painting, and that's a decision you made. And you just have to ask yourself, I'm happy with that decision? You know, the other thing that can happen with these paintings, the one nice thing about working on watercolor paper as opposed to canvas is if you are not happy with something, way something is situated, you can change that. You can move, you could take, like I cut off 3 inches on one side of my painting one time because I wasn't happy with where the focal point was in the painting. So you can make that decision and you can cut it down. You know, it's nice to work on paper because you can do that. If you're on a canvas, you can't change it. So, interesting. I looked and looked at this painting and said, it's just not quite right. And I said, if I take 3 inches off this side, made all the difference in the world. So, so you can always have that decision. And you can even, you know, with watercolor paper, if you say, well, I like this center part, but I'm not crazy about this outside, you can cut it down to a much smaller piece. And that's another thing to think about when you're doing. And that's where your phone comes in handy, because you can take a picture of it and crop it down and see, is it better this way? Yeah, and so that's another thing.
And the thing with the photos, and this is what kind of gave me this aha moment, was when you take the picture, it's backlit, so it looks totally different.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, you know, if I'm buying a painting online, it's gonna be totally different when I get it home than what it looks like. So that was something I have to be aware of, at least if I'm buying somebody else's painting. But I think also the thing that John Salminen did, he says you have to put a mat down, you have to put the plexiglass on it before you, when you're looking, and look at it through that, because when it's up close, well, I'm like, this is awful because of all the little squiggly, the papers and that kind of stuff. But I think, I'm hoping that with plexiglass, it kind of looks like what it looks like on my phone, much better.
Yeah, it does, it helps. Framing a picture is really powerful. Well, just putting a mat around it, you can see how much difference that makes. But you get it separated from all the stuff around it, and so you're really just looking at the painting. So that's really good. Yeah. So I really like this crisscross that you did here, very nice. And that's kind of Kandinsky. In fact, yours has kind of got a Kandinsky look to it, you know. I don't know if you like Kandinsky.
Oh, I love him,
but he's-
yeah.
Yeah, I love his stuff. So, because he did a lot of these little marks and things around it. So, yeah, and you have lots of variety and shape, for sure. I don't think that, and repetition. Perhaps maybe a little bit too much repetition in these, that maybe you need to do something to these, make them different. And I've done things like put crisscrosses in front of one of them, inside one of them, you know, just to make it look like a different thing.
Okay.
Or you could do circles around, you know, a spiral inside this or something like that. But just to make a little bit more difference between all these shapes around here, that would be good. This is beautiful. This stuff that you added in, which was collage material, really nice. And you I probably did just about enough of that. That was.
Yeah, it was, I
just
put
a
a
little
bit
bit.
piece and
No.
it didn't look right.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. The amount you did was, I think, good.
She's so, she's divided her space up so beautifully in her background. I'd almost like to see her white shape that goes into the, almost the cathedral window.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see it a little bit more unpredictable than that.
That-
That's, nothing else in that painting is predictable, but that is very predictable.
And I was kind of stuck with that, unfortunately.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I think with acrylic and collage.
Well, there
you
are
can-
some-
You can change it.
I got those little pens that you showed me, whatever, and I put them out there, and then I leaned down to paint up here and stuck my arm in and smeared it. So I had to go back and paint the white space white, so you're saying maybe just add some more white space?
Well, yeah, I just think make the shape of it a little more unpredictable.
And you
I
can
don't
do that
know.
with a wash. You could,
Just fill
another
in the
thing is,
section.
this line is really strong here. This is better, because you've kind of got some very, but I would almost, again, take your paintbrush and just do a wash
Okay.
across part of that.
Yeah, yeah. Your central shape's beautiful.
Mhm.
The shape's gorgeous. The butterfly that's not supposed to be a butterfly is
Right.
beautiful.
It also looks like a flower.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
the
seeing
bird of
flower, and my
bird of
friend saw
paradise.
butterfly, I'm like, okay, it's a butterfly sitting on a flower.
Okay, this is really nice, this thing
That's
coming out of
gorgeous.
the
Yeah.
nowhere into it, I like that. Your shapes that you have around there are some really interesting
Yeah.
shapes. Like I said, the circles are the only ones that are a little bit too repetitious, I think.
Okay.
You know, just find a way to
Change
Do
the color or?
Yeah,
put
you can-
design?
change, you know, Karen Knudsen, who is someone that I've used for some of my projects, she also has a really good DVD that you could get. Karen Knudsen is her name. And she says two things are the most important thing in a painting. One is repetition and variation.
Okay.
And, I mean, those are next to each other. You repeat, but you vary. Repeat, vary. And then the other thing she said is dominance. So you always have to think you have to have a dominant color, you have to have a dominant shape, you have to have dominance in your painting. Those are the two things that she really emphasizes. And she has a great DVD and is a very good teacher, like John Salminen.
Okay.
She tells you what she's doing and why she's doing it. and it's really excellent. But, anyway,
I think your color's fabulous.
yeah, the colors are
Yeah.
just yummy. You just want, you
It
want
just pops, I think.
yeah, very good, very good. So another, any other comments on this one? Okay, great, good job.
Almost has it like a.
Okay, this is Carmen Lucero's painting, and
Very interesting.
she's got symbols in here.
Yeah.
Carmen is big on symbols also. The hearts, the moons, those are all symbols. Those are all things we would read as symbols. And so it says something, the artist is speaking to the public with that. So, very cool. Again, colors, warm or cool?
Cool.
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 Very cool. And that wonderful pink that you have next to those
Really.
darks is really, really enhances it, like makes it look really good. So, anyway, you have focal point. Yeah, your focal point is actually pretty big, because this is, the whole thing is a focal point. So,
I keep seeing Casper.
I do too. He's very lovable. He's very lovable.
what is this? You see what?
I see a violin.
That's what, exactly, I see this music.
I see a half a face.
I see.
That's
Yeah, I do too. You know, it is very musical.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it really is very musical. It has, you know, there's a big relationship between art and music. And one of my former students was a musician, and when he came in and did his artwork, we were all kind of going, ah, over it, because he had that rhythm. He put rhythm in it, and this has, I think that's what this has. It has a rhythm in it. It's, you know,
Love notes.
yeah, it's just kind of, you're moving around. I can almost hear music when I look at it, you know, it's just beautiful. So, and you've got a nice softening with this between the
Yeah.
white and the outside. This is good. All of that, you've softened it very much. So, and again, it's decision time. You have a very big focal point. And you can say, it's usually bigger than what I would expect. But you can say, I like it, and that's what I want, and that's fine. Or you can try to pull it down a little bit with putting, you know, darkening some of the white area, so you kind of bring that down a little bit. But again, that's a decision that artists make, and artists, it's your artwork, so if you look at it and say, well, somebody says this is kind of big, but I like it, then you can keep it. I mean, that's it. That's what it's done. And I've been in critiques where somebody said something about my painting that was, painting was the feet were too big. It was a woman. The feet were too big. And I went home and I said, I'm sorry, I like the feet. And Picasso made really big feet too. So I didn't change the feet based on what his comment was, but that was his feeling about it. And they were kind of big feet. Anyway.
Some people have big feet.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen Picasso's paintings of people? They have huge hands and huge feet, you know? So, I mean, you can do that. You can decide to do that. So anyway, where does your eye go on the painting?
Kind of swirls.
It does kind of swirl.
Kind of swirls around. Do you think your eye is taken off the painting in any place?
No.
No, it keeps the eye in the painting. That's one of the goals of an artist. You don't want people looking at your painting and moving on to the next painting in the row. You want them to stay there and look at it and see what's happening in there.
I like that it doesn't have the giant rectangle mama bear, papa bear, black squares. It
Okay.
was just so, that threw my whole painting off.
I have trouble with that too.
Too much, man, but that's nice. That's just enough use of the black.
Well, if you feel like that took your painting off, you can change it. I mean, if you can focus on something and saying, you know, this isn't working for me, So you just do away with it.
Yeah, I just totally.
Yeah.
I tossed the paint.
So that's,
Oh,
oh
you could
no.
have added acrylic paint. Or done
It's
some.
Never,
nice.
never.
It's a nice use of it, it's not big.
You know, I taught high school art for a while, and something I would never let my high school students do, which they always wanted to do, was crumble up their paintings and throw them away. No, you don't do that. You work on it, you look back at it, you make it into, I've got a sheet that gives 11 different things to do with a failed painting. And there's a lot of things you can do. You can make it into collage material. You know, you can do a lot of things, or you can cut it down and take one little piece of it that you like, and suddenly it becomes a miniature, you know, so, I mean, that'll work. So,
Well, solving problems is a big learning experience.
Yeah.
Solving the problems.
definitely. So, anyway, so what do you think, Carmen? You said you're not finished, where do you think
No.
you're going with it?
The white is just too much, I think.
Okay,
And I don't like the nose. On the face.
I like the nose.
Yes, so that's what I want to do something with that. And I don't like that stripe that goes across where the eyeball is. If it's a face.
you don't like that, or you do like
I
it?
don't.
You don't?
No,
kinda like
so do something
Okay,
there.
so basically, you're saying you want to work on this white area,
Yeah,
and definitely the rest of it looks really nice, I think. I like your symbols that you put in there. There's a little, what looks like a snake over there. And you do a lot with symbols, I know you do. So, that's fine.
I think it would help if she put in that upper part of the white shape, if she added more dots or took some dots out, because your eye goes there immediately because it looks like a face
yeah.
from here.
Like a baby.
Yeah, it becomes very lovely. But, you know, if she didn't want that, she needs to add more dots so you don't mistake it as two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. That's what, isn't that right? We see it back here, that's what you see back here.
Yeah.
But I think your shape is really interesting.
Or,
But you could just put collage material over that and change the color a little bit, or paint over it.
Yeah, and one of the things about, I love all your shapes and everything, but they do tend to be the same size. So one thing you could do is add in smaller or larger pieces somewhere of the little extra things that you have all around here. They're kind of all in the same size range. They're all kind of medium sized. So that could change some things a little bit. So, good. And I love your, you know, you have, this is very signature for you, these curvy lines. And every one of your paintings that I've seen has that in it, and that's a signature thing, you know, so you can definitely repeat that. Yeah. In fact, you could even add more of these curvy lines. You don't have any up in this area.
right,
Yeah. So, that would be kind of cool. Colors are good. Variation in soft and hard is good.
So, you see how she's got kind of the turquoise down there and then the pink?
Uh-huh.
Could she reverse that kind of up above and color in some of the white doing that, so it's, or is that too much, too cylindrical, too, or should she do a different color up there than the turquoise and pink down below to?
I don't think any more colors are needed. I think that's fine. So if you do anything, repeat some of the colors you have. You know, because one of the things that is really important in paintings is that you limit your color palette. You don't want to have every color on the palette in your painting, and definitely this leans one way, you know. And I think don't add another color, no. But work with what you got. I think that's definitely true.
Very nice.
Okay, Carmen. Keep going. And I know Carmen, she's gonna go back and work on this some more and come up with a really beautiful piece in the end, because that's what Carmen does. Okay, this is Bill's painting. Whoa. Wow. You know, you got away from the diagonal, but I think that's okay, because you just have a different composition now. You haven't used diagonal composition, you've used a composition that is kind of like, you know, a lot of compositions are the letters of the alphabet, and so this would be an I composition, you know, which is, I mean, it's a legitimate composition, so you just went off on your own direction on that, that's fine. Dominant color, this is, I think most of our colors have been cool, and this is very warm, whoa. I love the reds, just beautiful reds. And, yeah, it's an interesting piece.
It's real moody.
It does look, it looks indigenous. It looks like Native American.
It has a mysterious feel about it. You look at it and go, okay, what was the artist trying to indicate
Yeah.
here? What's he telling us?
You know, and I have to say, this is one, I wouldn't change a thing in this. I think the way it is, it's what it is, you know? I think you just go home and frame it.
I do too. That's all.
Because,
His white shape is not overwhelming
no, it's
to the
not,
painting at all. It's very much a part of it.
not at all. It's beautiful. Very strong, but the positioning of it is, first of all, you have it at an angle, which is 100% better than if you had it straight up. And then you've got this nice moon up in the corner that offsets it. I love that black circle up there. That really balances out. And the fact that it is a circle and then the white shape curves around it. I mean, that's powerful. You have a really powerful painting here. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And it's almost, I think of Sodoma. Whoa. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give any criticism to this. I think it's really nice. I think it is very- Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. I would be, you know, there's a show coming up at Maker's Paradise that is mixed media. A mixed media show coming up. They just sent me an invitation to it. You might want to think about putting it in the show. You could do that. This would be perfect, really. I'd go with it.
When is that going on?
They are opening requests on the 28th of this month. You can send in, you have to send in your images, yeah, on the 28th. The show is probably going up in June, I guess.
And where is this?
Maker's Paradise in Reno Public Market.
Oh.
There's a thing tonight, you can go by and see, they have the art collective, and they invite all artists to anybody to bring their artwork in and show it. You know, just bring it in, you know, kind of thing, for tonight. But it's a really good little gallery, and I would really like to encourage people to go there, because they're kind of hidden in the back, and they need more publicity and stuff. And we don't have a lot of galleries in Reno right now, so those are good. So, but yeah, anybody have any comments on it?
I only have one, and it's really nothing, because everything you said about it is excellent. I think the black triangle on the right, the value could be taken down to tiny bits so it doesn't pull your eye, because it is the darkest dark in that area. Is that right? Other than your moon and your other thing. But I think he's really done a lovely job.
I don't know, I think if you knock that down, then
Well, I don't take it out, I just don't, I'm just thinking it doesn't, we don't want it to be as important, I would think.
You know, for me, it was just a different shape, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
it's
a
a
great
little,
shape.
maybe the
No, I
location.
don't mind the shape,
Don't-
yeah.
I love the
That's good.
green and the blue at the bottom. I don't know, it's just unexpected and
It's
it's
beautiful.
You know, some of the paintings that I've looked at today, you know, you wonder, when you do contrast and like in the white, you want the focal point, do you diminish the white and tone it way down and then really intensify the center so that your focal point becomes more magnified because of the intensity of the whiteness? I don't know if I'm making any sense.
I think, no, I think you're right. I think generally speaking, you're right. That would be something to do. And that's what we were talking about in Carmen's, is that she needs to de-emphasize part of that. You know, and what part she can decide, but it's just too much sameness to it. Again, not unpredictable. So, yeah, but yours is not, you don't, I don't
The
know.
shape's beautiful.
I think the shape
I
is
love the
beautiful,
red.
and it's very clear where the focal point is, but I don't think it takes away from the focal point necessarily, the white around yours. And you have so much dark behind it, I don't know that, I don't know, I really would recommend making a change there. But on this one.
Yeah, I got a little heavy-handed with the acrylic when you know, I didn't dilute it enough with the water, and I kind of got in that spot, especially in the left corner, where I had really darker colors than I really wanted.
Which corner?
The left corner,
Lower.
top,
Left top?
yeah.
Oh, I don't,
No.
that's not an issue at all.
Because for me, if you're looking at it from like a bird's eye view, it's almost a shadow. It's the dark side
Yeah, I
of
think
the
it
rock,
looks
and then
great.
you've got the sun reflecting, so it's, the perspective, I think, is good. And the red's just beautiful.
Yeah, I know that red is.
Maybe it's just the triangular black. Maybe if just that line is softened a bit. But my eye goes upper right because that's a dominant dark there. It's darker than yours.
Yeah, it is.
But everything else just is so balanced, and the shapes are unpredictable, they're lovely, interesting.
You're saying instead of having it straight, just curve it a little bit.
Well, no, you didn't even have to do that. I think it's just, it's a strong line. You know, if just a little spattering in there would change that.
Mm. What, can I ask, what is in the lower right? I can barely see it. It looks like a little tail, and are
Tree.
people there?
It's
What
a
is-
palm tree that grew horizontal.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
kind
was
of,
searching for things to put on it, you know.
well, it's that, I almost question that, but it's very unexpected. And it kind of brings, like, what is that about? You know, I mean, it brings that question, and that's not a bad thing to bring people to mind, you know, looking at a painting. So it's kind of like, it's kind of weird, but, I mean,
And the three circles to the left were actually Panama hats that I cut out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, those are cute.
And I was
Those
gonna
are
put
great.
them in they had the one metal work
Uh-huh.
with the circles, and I was gonna put either those hats and the metal work, you're gonna ask too much.
I like with it. So I've been looking at videos on Mel's Hole, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a hole in Washington that has a bottomless pit. And so it kind of, when I saw it, that just kind of reminded, because it's unexpected, they don't know whether there's alien life down there, they don't know. I mean, the one guy that found it, he put a line 4,800 feet down or whatever, and never got to the bottom. So they sent a drone down, it's like 19 miles or something like that. There's a few of them on the earth. There's an Indian one also in Nevada. So anyway, when I started seeing that, I'm thinking Mel's Hole, it's just going down, 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 and you don't know what's on the other side at the bottom. And
you nicely stopped it with that green in the bottom. You stopped us going off the page on that. So that was very nice. Okay, did we get one?
Good job, Bill.
This is a demo on working with a palette knife, and one of the things I asked you to get it for this class, and we'll be using it for a later process, is it's called modeling paste or molding paste. Sometimes it's called, it has different names, but basically it just looks like this white stuff. Okay, and is my camera on? Yeah. Okay. Good. And it's just white. And the thing about it is, it does not dry white. It dries clear. So it doesn't affect your colors at all. And it's a really good thing to use with, with a palette knife, because you have to get really thick with a palette knife. And so if you get really thick, you're using a lot of paint. And so to cut down on the amount of paint that you use, you can buy the cheaper stuff, which is the modeling paste, and mix it with the paint. And like I said, it doesn't affect the colors. So that's really good. Let's see, I want some white in here too. Palette knife, you know, some people love working with palette knives, some people don't. So the main thing about it is you need to mix the paint with just a little paint with a lot of modeling paste. And as you see, it doesn't change the color of it at all. It's pretty good. And then you just take your palette knife and just dab it on. And there's a lot of different ways to dab. You can dab just like I did here, or sometimes people use the side of the knife and go like this, and that would be fine. This is great for doing rocks. If you're doing rocks, they really makes good rocks. So that's another way to do it. And of course, you rinse out your palette knife every time you put it into another color. And what do I want to do here? Put some more paste in there, and you just keep a big bunch of paste on your palette. Okay. And you can mix colors together. So I'm just working on the plain paper. I could have put gesso on this, and that would be okay. Doesn't really matter. Gosh, why doesn't this stay on here? I'm trying to lure it from a picture. There we go. Okay. One of my friends, people that I know, his last name is Friedman, does all palette knife paintings. And I've tried to copy his palette knife paintings, I can't do it. So it definitely is a skill that you either have or you don't have.
Did you do all your blocks behind you with a palette knife?
No. I don't know if I did any of them with a palette knife. No, it was just straight on painting on those. So, but when you're working small like this, a palette knife works kind of well.
And we could do a little of both, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the things you might want to do is put down a level of flat painting underneath it, and then go over it with a palette knife, which you can definitely do.
Oh, and kind of pick up a background color.
Yeah, yeah. So you have something down there. So if you miss with a palette knife, you see a color, not another
White.
white, yeah, so. Okay, but you can see, you get a certain look to a palette knife that's kind of interesting.
Kind of a texture.
Yeah, you definitely get texture with a palette knife. You don't have to worry about that. I'll just kind of work around this. So you don't have to stay and watch me the whole time. I'll show you the end when I finish it up. Okay?
Okay.
All right.